Chris McDonald with you. We're so grateful to have you. I tell you what, we are always honored, absolutely honored to have this beautiful lady with us tonight, Lori Mills, uncovercali.com. I got her website right. That alone is going to make her faint and fall off her chair, so she's got my website right. But it's good to see you tonight, friend. It's been a while, and got a lot to talk about. And you know, we normally have you on late. We got you on early today, but we're going to have you on a lot more regularly. We've just been summer. You know how summertime is. Things sort of get out of whack with vacation and all, but we're getting back on schedule for the fall. It's good to see you tonight. How are you doing?
I I haven't had time for vacation. We are at war in California like you would not believe.
I don't doubt that, and I think we're in war in this whole country. I think that the whole nation is at war. We don't realize it, and I think that the forces of evil are playing their hand, and they're not only playing their hand, Lori, but we knew that this thing with Trump. Look, I love President Trump. I think he's doing an outstanding job. We're going to talk a little bit about that this afternoon because something he did today in D.C. needed to be done. He's cracked down on this lawlessness, and we did a show on it today on the radio, and I'm okay. There's not one thing that I've seen in the first 6 months of this presidency that I'm upset about. I knew that the left was not going to do this sitting down.
Part of the problem is they never are held accountable. Once we start having some accountability for their lawlessness, maybe things will change. If we don't have accountability for their lawlessness, this is never going to end until we don't have a country.
Well, that's where I was headed with this, is that we cannot just scrub stuff under the rug that has happened. And I'm afraid that there is a push on in some of the cabinet to do that, and I think that that's going to be a mistake. I think that they've got to hold people on account, especially with this Russiagate, especially with this fraud. Letitia James, Adam Schiff both need to be in jail. And I have to tell you, I want them to look at 2020. I think it's necessary that we all have peace of mind in this country to go back and really know what happened with this election of 2020. I know that there's not much we can do right now, 4 years later, 5 years going on 5.
I don't know. I think we should get our 4 years we lost back.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm not going to disagree with that because I think that there is. In fact, I read an article today about that actually there are people looking into a constitutional way to reverse a lot of these pardons, reverse a lot of these things that Biden did. Possibly could mean, Johnny Brown Jackson wouldn't be a Supreme Court nominee, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with all of it. But I want to talk to you a little bit about something because this has to do with your state. It has to do with the country in general. What Trump did today in D.C. was basically bringing the National Guard. Pete Hegseth said that they activated the Guard this morning. Kash Patel had some staggering figures of what the FBI has done in 6 months. Pam Bondi, love her, hate her, whatever. She was out there telling folks that they were going to try to do some things. Doug Burgum, the Park Service Director, Department of Interior, he said he's all in with this. Do you think that this model of cracking down on these lawless gangs is coming to L.A. and coming to the bigger cities? Because I don't think that you need to stop at D.C. I think that we need to start doing this in all the cities that are lawless. And L.A. sort of strikes me as being a lawless city right now.
Well, I'm north of LA. However, the Palisades fire, for instance, happened in my district. It's actually, I ran for that seat in 2022, and I ran on fire danger, oddly enough, and water storage. And only about 6 permits out of about 50,000 have been approved. They've tried to do a land grab out here, but the people found out and stood up. And the reality star Spencer Pratt has been on fire going after Newsom, which has been extremely helpful. However, we are infiltrated by George Soros groups that funnel down to Chirla, that funnel down to this indivisible group, and then this immigration and docu-fund and 805 immigration. And these people, they're the same people that did the defund the police. They're the same people that did the BLM riots. They're the same ones that did the riots in Los Angeles and are doing these No Kings marches. They are going city by city in my county and asking our counties to fund them by millions of dollars. Little do they know, one of the emails that we have intercepted actually says donations go to the Democrat Party. So they must have lost a lot of USAID funds. So now they're trying to get taxpayers to pay for their activism. Well, we're standing up for the first time. The new Republican Party here that is 100% MAGA are showing up and exposing them. And as you know, I spent the last 5 years reporting on the open border. All of my witnesses are fact witnesses. So when I go in to speak at these meetings, it is fact based, and they hate me and I don't care. It means I'm doing a good job. And we had last month, and I'm sure you heard it on the national news, a farm raid at Glass House Marijuana Farm. They
Yes.
found 14 trafficked children at that farm and two rapists that had deportation orders, a child molester with deportation orders, and these people are playing, oh, the poor migrants, we need to give them money and law, legal fees and everything else, and we want to use our taxpayer dollars to do it. And so we're at an extreme war with these people because they're not used to being hit back. And I really want to see our federal government come down on the cities here that have already approved this nonsense.
Do you?
They have to do it. And I'm doing videos of them, I'm clipping them, and they are being reported to the US attorney. They are being reported to ICE. And we did have a guy out here that ran an X page called LA Scanner. Well, he was just indicted, and he's a kid because he was giving out ICE's location. And so they have now indicted him for aiding and abetting, putting the ICE agents in danger. He's looking at 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. And we need that to happen with a lot of these activists until they learn you don't mess with federal law.
Yeah, sort of like Karen Bass. I think Karen Bass should be right there behind him, don't you?
100%. But everybody looks at her and Gavin. And what you need to understand is we've got a supermajority in our state assembly and our state senate. Jackie Irwin, who I ran against, who's the incumbent, she's been there for years, didn't do anything about fire danger. She didn't do anything about the water storage. What she did is she built a wildlife bridge over the freeway because having a vanity project was more important to her. Ben Allen, state senator, has done nothing about fire prevention and water storage. And so people really need to look and support the state assembly and state senate candidates because even if we were to get a new governor and a new mayor, these are the people that are making the laws and giving the power to the bureaucracy like the Coastal Commission.
Where do you think Trump is gonna is? Do you look for the federal government to step in and help? I know that with the ICE arrest, that's a U.S. issue. I mean, they are doing that. But
They
what
need
more does the
to
federal
more.
government
They
have to
need to
do?
step it up.
What's that?
I said they need to step it up. And on the immigration, another very important fact is that we have a law made by our state assembly and state senate signed into law by Gavin Newsom called SB 54.
I've
Well,
heard about it.
SB 54 does not allow local law enforcement to work with ICE or even communicate with them. So what happens now is ICE is pushed into the community. They can't pick criminals up in jail. So these guys are whining that people are getting caught up in it. And I'm like, you better go talk to your legislature and tell them to repeal SB 54. And then our local law enforcement can work with ICE. And then they'll be picking criminals up at the jail. They won't be at Home Depot. So
Have,
that is their fault as well.
do you see any change? I know again you're not in LA itself, but I'm just asking in
I'm
general.
close. I'm 10 minutes. It's over the hill for me.
Have you seen any difference since Trump has really Tom Homan has brought this presence of ICE into Southern California? Have you seen a difference other than of course, the bottle throwing, the rock throwing, the Molotov cocktails? I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about the safety factor in LA. Have you seen any difference in the people there? Has it made any difference with ICE being there?
Well, people need to understand, first of all, let me tell you about a couple big differences. They caught an Iranian terrorist cell over the hill from me. So they're gone. In Long Beach, which is about an hour south from me, they found an ISIS fighter with a bomb. So that is the difference that I'm seeing. Now, as far as these activists, no, we're not seeing a difference with them because not enough of them have been prosecuted for interfering with federal law. They are funded by George Soros, and then it funnels down to all these other organizations. Until these people are truly held accountable, we're not going to have change. Now, another thing about that is you've got the leaders of these organizations getting paid. And what they do is they go into the community and they lie to the public, get them all upset. Because remember, these are the same people when we were yelling about the border, said the border was secure
That's right.
and we're trying to defund the
Come on.
police. That's who these people are. So they get all these kids all upset and they let the kids and these upset activists do the dirty work. If they're prosecuted, the leadership doesn't care. They might bail them out of jail. But the difference now is the state used to give these people a slap on the wrist, and the federal government, you're looking at hard time with a minimum of a 5-year sentence in federal prison. But we need ICE to step it up. We need the U.S. attorney to step it up. But people need to recognize, I would say 40% of our population in California are illegal immigrants.
That's a lot, or that's a lot. And speaking of that,
And they do that to redistrict us like
well,
Texas is doing. We have been redistricted to the point we're not even a state anymore. Let me put it this way, too. If I want to call my representative, you know what my choices are? Adam Schiff, Alex Padilla, or Julia Brownlee.
that's
I do
ridiculous.
not have a representative in my
You not
state that
no.
represents me.
All right, there goes my next question. Trump has announced this past week. We hadn't talked in a long time, so I'm going to cover a lot of ground with you here quickly. Trump announced this past week that the new census that is coming out is not going to
Please.
include illegals. And it's finally, I
Yes.
think, something that should have been done a long time ago. And I firmly believe the 2020 map, the 2020 election would have been a lot different had we done this before. I know that Newsom talks a big game. He's a blabbermouth. I don't think he's got a spine the worth of a catfish. But do you think that California can do anything to offset what's going on in Texas? I don't see how you can gerrymander California any more than he already has.
Yeah, they have gerrymandered this place so extremely. I don't know. They might be able to get a seat or two, but it's already gerrymandered.
That's
The
what I
last
thought.
time we did the census, Mike Garcia was a congressman. He was my congressman. So what they did, my city is red, the city of Simi Valley, the city of Ronald Reagan. And so they basically took Simi Valley out of his district to get rid of him. And all he had was LA, the Valley, and those areas. So honestly, in our county, I don't know how much more they can actually do. They've already done it. Now, understand the last census as well. This is a kind of a problem, and I think it was more with the state. We tried to stop them, and they sued, and some district judge ruled against us and let the illegal aliens be counted in the census. So that's the only issue I see. Is there going to be some district judge that stops us?
I don't know. We'll have to see. Do you think that this taking the illegals out of the count, though, does that not bode changes in California? Because if whether they
100%.
gerrymander the district state or not, if you start counting that, because that's what the congressional maps are drawn up, and I know that's just 5 years away, but that's not a long time, and that could change the course of the country. Because
California.
right now, every election cycle is the same. You can pretty
Yep.
much put Texas in the book for the Republicans. You can just about put New York in the book for the Dems in California. Dems have almost 100 electoral votes before we even start voting every election cycle in presidential races. That is about to change if this takes place. And I just pray that Trump and his group, and I believe they will not bow to this pressure and keep the pedal on the metal about this, because I think this is a game changer for California elections, and I think that there may be a light at the end of your tunnel if this takes place. Am I being naive about that, or do you see that could be coming?
No, there's two things. Number one, you're absolutely correct with what you just said. It will change everything, because if that populace goes away, more than likely we're going to lose some seats, because each congressional district has to have a specific amount of people in it. And if the illegals are not counted, boy, does that change things. It hugely changes things, especially like in a city like Oxnard. Oxnard, I would say, is probably 60 to 70% illegal aliens.
Right.
I mean, it's a huge number. So that would definitely eliminate that. Now, another thing that's happening here in California is when COVID happened, they made it illegal for us to show ID to vote. It's illegal. You're not allowed to do it. So Carl DeMaio, who's an assemblyman here, and Senator Tony Strickland, who was a honey badger, he was the mayor of Huntington Beach, they have done a voter ID initiative. Now, with the voter ID initiative, we're already signing people up to sign this petition. What it'll do is change the California Constitution and require voter ID for you to vote. With the mass mail-in voting, you're going to have to prove who you are and go back to absentee ballots instead of just everybody gets a ballot and everybody votes. So that would be a game changer for us. Now, we are going to be getting the petitions for that in October. But again, if anybody is in California, they want to sign this petition, we are pre-identifying people to sign now at voteridpetition.org, voteridpetition.org. And the reason that we're doing this is once we have the petitions in hand, we only have about 100 plus days to get the signatures. And we don't want to be sitting at Costco saying, oh, I hope we get 1 million signatures. If we get that 1 million signatures, voter ID is on the next ballot.
Give me that website again. Give me that website again.
voteridpetition.org.
Okay.
And then if you want to be a volunteer to collect signatures from your neighbors and everybody else, you can go to voteridvolunteer.org.
Okay. Good deal. All right. We just want to make sure people got that. Listen, I want to
here like we never have before. I can tell you, my county, we're on fire. They just don't even know what hit them here.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Again, we've not talked in a while, and we've got 6 months behind us now. Trump passed his 6-month mark, July the 20th. We're going into his 7th month, and God, how this year has flown by. I wish it would slow down with him in office. I really do.
That's something our Congress needs to grow some testicular fortitude. For instance, what we were just talking about with getting illegals off the census, Congress needs to make a law that they're not counted. Why isn't Congress doing this? It shouldn't be up to an executive order that can be flipped.
Yeah, I'm with
Sorry,
you, buddy.
I had to put that in there.
No, that's fine. I want to ask your opinion about the overall job Trump has done in his cabinet. If Lori Mills was giving him a grade tonight, what would your grade be? And I want to talk about some of this other criminal activity that's been going on nationwide and get your opinion on that. But let's go to about President Trump right now. Look, there's a big meeting, and I don't think the media is reporting on this as much as they need. But we could very well have a big breakthrough Friday, Lori, with this Putin meeting. And I'm not going to give any delusions of grandeur. Look, Putin is a KGB thug. Zelensky's not much better. You got two terrible actors. Trump's doing his best, but the man has brought so many nations, and I say so many, at least 3 or 4 conflicts that have been smoldering and waging for nearly 4 or 5 decades, and he has literally, with the help of God, and I don't give Trump all the credit, I give the Lord credit, but he's done his best to bring peace to this earth, and he's trying his best to get peace between this Russia-Ukrainian situation. And look, I think the man has done as good a job as we could have ever hoped for in the community of the conservatism. I just do, and I know that there's a lot of people that disagree with that, and I'll get into some reasons why in a minute. But what's your thoughts on that? I think the man's done a one heck of a job in 6 months.
I think that he has done a fantastic job in 6 months. And when it comes to Putin, I think something that people don't think about is the UN had a treaty with Russia a long time ago that the UN did not move towards Russia's border, and they did. So that is one of the reasons that Russia invaded Ukraine.
Exactly
I
right.
think our president is a deal maker. I think that, again, it would be like Mexico putting ISIS on our border. We wouldn't want that either. There needs to be compromise. And I hate to say this, so many people are dying over there that we really, really, they just need to come up with a compromise. And I'm sorry, Ukraine may have to lose some territory. And that's just what I think. We need to stop the killing.
I do too. Well, and I hate when you said that if ISIS was on our border, we wouldn't like it. There'd be some Dems that would be okay with that. I don't think us Republicans
Well,
would.
they're already here. They were crossing our border.
There'd be some Dems that'd be more than okay with it, Lori. I thought, the Dems, that's all they're about. Hey, what's your thoughts about this socialist Marxist in New York City, my friend? How's that going to play in the California world of where you're at? I know it's on the other coast, but let me phrase the question like this. Do you believe that maybe it's going to be a good thing for the country to witness and I don't wish this on my New York friends, because I got a ton of people that listen to us in New York City, and we've got a beautiful family up there. But I think that sometimes it's like a child touching a hot stove, and you can't keep that child from touching this hot stove. And I think that people have been warned and warned and warned about socialism. I heard George Will last night say something, and like George Will or not, he's a conservative commentator. I don't agree with everything he says, but he made a good point. He said sometimes you've got to give an electorate what they want to have them get a good, solid taste of just how ugly socialism is, to keep them from ever voting socialist again. And I'm not wishing that on New York, but I'm afraid that's what it's going to take, Lori, to get maybe the attention of the country, not just New York City, but the country. This is what we're going to get if we keep going down this path.
I agree 100%. As a matter of fact, we're in the same position in California. Kid yourself.
Yes, you are.
We've got a lot of commies running here. And I am willing to go through some pain in order to have change. And we are seeing a paradigm shift here because of the Palisades fire. We have another fire burning right now, by the way.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, I heard that yesterday. Yeah.
And I think I have already come to the place I never want to go to New York City again because of all the crime. So if New York needs to feel the pain, and I mean feel the pain to recognize that they are lost, then let it be so. And the sad thing is it seems like a lot of these people just keep believing the lie. They keep believing the lie that the Democrats spew and the media spews. And it's pretty crazy. But you know what? We just saw somewhere in the nation where they had a socialist grocery store. All the shelves are empty and they're closing down now. I don't know what it's going to take for people to wake up. But, that was our financial capital of the world.
Yes, it was.
To destroy that, I say some of these big banks and stuff need to move out of New York and let them burn the place down.
I think that's what the Dems want. I think that's what the Dems want. And, I do want to ask you this, going back to California. Are there any Republicans, because this is who I blame for the Mondami situation in New York City. I don't even blame the Dems for this. I blame the Republicans. They did not put any candidate out there that gendered enough leadership and gendered enough enthusiasm on the base for people to say, we're going to get behind this Republican candidate, because right now the only people that are even polling within the universe of this Marxist socialist is Eric Adams and Mama Kill and Cuomo. And I look at your California's governor's race, and I know Steve Hilton of Fox is a good man, and I like him. He does a good job articulating ideas, but there's just something, and just my opinion, there's that part of him that he lacks. I'm not sure he's going to have that gusto fire that it's going to take to win that governorship race. Now, I may be wrong, but is there anybody in your mind that can take this Democrat machine down come next year in 2026?
As of right now, Steve, I think, is the best candidate running on our side. Is there somebody that is going to be a shoo-in right now? Again, our elections are so messed up here, and there are other candidates running that I have problems with. But we'll see what happens. We have until February to see what happens with filing and who's going to run.
You should run.
But even if we
You should
take the
run.
governorship, even if we take the governorship, the problem with that is we still have a bad assembly and a bad Senate. It's kind of like having Trump in office with a Democrat Congress and a Democrat Senate. We need to flip the assembly, and then no matter who wins the governorship, we can pull back.
Yeah.
But right now, they don't even have to debate us. What they usually do to our Republican representatives, because there's only 22 of them, is they just turn off their mics. They don't let them be heard. There is no debate. Even right now, on the 19th, they're looking to pass a child trafficking bill, the Democrats, which basically states anybody can go online, and they're saying it's because of illegal immigrants' parents getting deported, but nowhere in the bill does it say illegal immigrant. People can go online, fill out a form saying they're going to be taking custody of your child because they can't reach the parent.
Yes. And I want to ask you a question about the children. There's another bill Pastor Jack Hibbs has been online streaming about. Is that the same bill?
That's the one. That's the one.
And he was telling the parents to leave California over this.
If this passes, he says, if you've got kids, get out of here.
So explain that one more time to us. So I don't think our audience quite caught what you just said. I want you to explain this danger because this is facing the California people. This is on the landscape.
Well, I understand. We're the state where they're passing laws for child sex changes. They are out for our children here. So this person wrote a bill that basically, and she claims, it may have had good intentions, that if there's a kid at school and his parents are deported while he's at school or she's at school, someone, doesn't have to be a family member, can go online, fill out a form, take it to the school, and take custody of the child. But it doesn't say it has to be a migrant child. It can be any child. So think how dangerous that is.
Very.
No background checks, no courts involved. Just fill out a form online and go pick up a kid.
Was there some of this bill, part of this bill, that if a child did not agree or if the parent didn't agree with gender affirming and all this transsexual stuff and transgender stuff, that the state could step in and under this bill have the right to yank that child from the parents? Was that a separate bill, or is that this
We already
language
have that.
in the same bill?
We already have that. That's already law. Gavin signed that into law. It's so bad. Let's say you're in Tennessee, like you are, and you and your wife disagree that you don't want your child to have a sex change, but your wife does, and you get divorced, and a court rules in Tennessee that you cannot do the gender affirming care on your child and give them Lupron and chemically castrate them. Well, that spouse that wants the sex change can come to California, and it will be a sanctuary to transition that child.
That's dangerous, Lori. That's a slippery slope, isn't it? Is that not a
Well,
slippery
and
slope
it's
in
already law
society?
here. There's a little boy in Texas that they went to court, and the father won. The mother came out here with the child. They're already transitioning the child, and the father came out here to try to stop it, and he's looking at going to jail.
Welcome to 1984, friend. Welcome to 1984. This is George Orwell stuff, is it not?
This is Commie California.
Commie California. I'll agree with you. Listen, a couple of other things. Did you see the incident in Cincinnati? What happened to that couple from your
Yes.
perch? I want to get your opinion. I know this doesn't affect California, but in ways, I guess the same sort of dynamic is the same across the country. What was your thoughts on that? Do you consider that a racial hate crime? I do.
Um, yes, I do. And let me tell you why. There was a little boy out here, a teenager that was just beat up. I don't know the background behind it, but I think anytime a mob takes on somebody, we need to know why. But at the same time, even if somebody hurls their First Amendment right and says something really disgusting, you don't have the right to beat them in a mob, try to stomp on their head, which in my opinion is attempted murder. I think they should be indicted for attempted murder.
I'll
And
agree.
yeah, I think on in that instance that 100% they should be charged with a hate crime. I don't think hate crime should only go in one direction.
Well, the victim was Laura Ingram Thursday night, and she swears that number one, the police didn't even take her statement, but the media
Yeah,
is
isn't that
reporting.
crazy?
Ain't that crazy? The media is reporting that she and the guy was the one hurling the racial epithet, and she said that is not true. She said they were hurling that at us. In other words, that's where all this started, and I think the guy tried to step in, and then one thing led to the other, and boom, they were both. This girl was lucky to be alive because
Well,
her head was slammed
she
against the
tried to
cement.
yeah, and she tried to break it up. And if you look at the guy who was with, I mean, they were stomping on his head.
Head could have killed him.
Stomping on someone's head, you're trying to kill them. You're trying to kill them. That is not beating someone up. And there is nothing. People say stuff to me all the time. Do I get in a fight with them over it? No. I laugh at them and I walk away. You cannot try to kill someone because they hurt your feelings.
I'll agree with that. I got to ask you, not that I ultimately care about this, but I'm just wondering how the Epstein situation is playing in California. Has the interest in all this waned? Is people ultimately saying it's time to, if we're not going to get to the truth, let's move on? What's this feeling in California land about the Epstein files and the lack of information we've gotten? Because I know last time we had with you on the program, we talked about this a lot.
Yeah, well, and I've been looking into the Epstein case for years, which is why I'm not really concerned about President Trump. I already know
I'm
he
not
flew
worried
on
about
it
him. No.
between Florida and New Jersey. What is killing me is watching the sudden interest from the Democrats.
It's interesting that.
I think it was 4D chess for Trump to have the left demand to have them. However, I don't know if you saw today, an Obama judge blocked the DOJ and will not release the transcripts. I had a young girl approach me the other day while I was working at the fair booth, and she was young. They had seen me on Jubilee, so they decided they wanted to debate. And she came up to me and she asked me, well, Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. And I said, what do you know about the case? Well, Trump did this and this and this. And I looked at her and I said, who's Les Wexner?
Come on. Couldn't tell you, could he? Couldn't tell you.
She couldn't tell me. I
Nope.
don't know. And I said, well, what do you think about the victim's attorney saying in 2009 Trump was the only one to help with the case and be forthcoming with information? And she goes, that didn't happen. I said, you want to see the video? Because I archive everything. So she sat there and watched the video and then pivoted to climate change.
I
And
bet
I
she
said,
did.
because we had drill baby drill hats. And I said, if you care about climate change, why don't you go down to the Darien Gap, the little Amazon of South America that used to be a pristine jungle, and go clean up some dead bodies and the tons of trash down there? Well, oil's the problem. And I looked down and she's got these really cute Doc Martin boots. And I said, can I have your boots? Those are super cute. And she goes, why would I give you my boots? And I said, petroleum. They're made out of petroleum. And as a matter of fact, you need to go wash your face because you have petroleum all over it. So don't tell me you don't want oil with when what you're driving, the lights, the tire in your car, the clothes that you're wearing, the shoes that you're wearing, the makeup that you're wearing is all made from fossil fuels. So until you've got a good replacement for it, you need to shut up.
Yeah, I think you handled that well. Do you think Ghislaine Maxwell's reversal was significant? That she was all willing to talk, and then all of a sudden, when push come to shove, and they started trying to release the grand jury tapes, she all of a sudden clammed up and said, I don't want those grand jury tapes released." Was there any significance of that in your mind?
Well, it was the judge that had decided to rule against the DOJ today. As far as Ghislaine, she's a human trafficker.
Without a doubt.
You know, she
Without a
she
doubt.
trafficked children, she abused children, and I don't have any mercy for her. I believe she was sent to a kinder facility, uh, and we will see what happens. I know that they're calling on her to testify. They're also calling on the Clintons and everybody else to testify. They're all going to plead the fifth. What I want to know, because there are photos, there were videotapes, or video cameras in every bedroom, in every area of those townhouses. Who destroyed the tapes? If those tapes are gone, someone
The
destroyed them.
$1 million
And
question.
they need to start prosecuting those that destroyed the evidence.
Scale of 1 to 10. 10 being likely, 1 being no chance. Do we get to the bottom of this ever?
Well, I think we already know a lot. That's the thing that I think. We've seen the flight logs to the island. We know that Bill Clinton was there 29 times. We know that Les Wexner used to use Victoria's Secret to entice young girls to come over and then would hand them off to Jeffrey Epstein. He hasn't been prosecuted. We know Jacques Brunel was also trafficking young kids as young as 12 years old from the UK. We know that Prince Andrew was having sex with minor children. Now, the problem is, without the tapes and the video, how do you prove it?
Well, that's my point, because it's not so much
Look
what
at
we
Alec.
know, but what
Yeah,
is
look
going to
at
be done legally about it, Lori. Because, see, I think, I get that sentiment a lot in the chat. Whenever we
yeah.
talk about this, look, there's nothing that you've said today that anybody can dispute. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with the facts. We know the facts. But what is driving the American people insane, and it goes to this Russia hoax, the same dynamic is with the Russia hoax. Look, most of us were not dumb to what they were doing back in 2020 and 2016, 17, 18, 19, during the first Trump administration. Most people with a brain that has something between their ears beside mush saw through this like a pack of matches. I mean,
Oh, I did. I never believed the Russia
we
hoax.
never believed
Never.
it. No, we
And I
never. None of
dug
us
into
did.
it.
But
The
can you
dossier was
prove
made up in a
illegality to
bar.
put people in jail over it? That's my question to you. How hard is that
But
going to
see,
be?
but see, that's the thing. We know with the Russia hoax, the subsource one said that the dossier was made up in a bar over beer. If we don't see prosecutions in that case, no one is above the law, right? No one is above the law. Then they're just going to keep doing it until we have. And in my head, that was treason. They tried to overthrow the president of the United States. They spied on his presidency, they spied on his campaign, and they need to be held accountable.
Will they be?
If they Now the problem is, and let's hope Judge Janine can clean up the DC courts. I think part of the problem that we're going to have, and we saw it with Sussman and we saw it with Kevin Kleinsmith, is even when they were arraigned and even when they were indicted, they went to a DC court with a Democrat jury and a activist judge that was never going to prosecute it. These cases have to be pulled out of DC,
Totally agree.
or Judge Janine needs to do some serious firing. Now, the interesting thing is, with the current today takeover of DC, does that change the courts? I
We'll
don't
see.
know.
Well, I think you make a good point. It's got to be taken out of D.C. either way. But I guess that
I
is.
think we should have. I think we should have military tribunals.
Well, I know a lot of people agree with that, and I'm not going to say I don't agree with that. I guess I am just I don't want the military involved in our nation, and I tell you why. Because once you go down that rule, then there may be a day when me and Lori's still living, and we may have a dictator, an actual dictator in office, not one they claim, and they try to do it to the right. And I just,
Yeah,
I'm
but
mixed. I'm mixed on that a little bit,
what
but
I'm talking about though, when I say military tribunal, what I'm saying, they cannot withhold Brady evidence, so they will get a defense. But these cases are going to be tried by nonpartisan actors that are in the military because treason's a big deal.
yeah.
I don't think that that's a case that a district judge should hear. Now, could the Supreme Court hear it and broadcast it live? Yeah, but these lower courts shouldn't be able to touch it.
Well, the lower court's going to be a joke, and I mean they should just
Yeah.
fast track this to the Supreme Court anyway, because that's where it's ultimately going to be
Well,
probably
this
hammered out.
reason they and I can't say it enough. They tried to overthrow not once, not twice, but three times the president of the United States. And when he was out of office and decided to run again, they tried to put him in jail for 700 years. And when that didn't work, they tried to kill
They
him.
tried to kill him. No, look, I'm not make. I want to make it abundantly clear to our audience that I'm all on put them all in jail. I'm all for hanging them from nooses. To be frank with you, I'm all for doing everything we can to clean this mess out, that it never happen again. And I'm with you 1,000,000%. It has to be dealt with in the same manner they dealt with it, and there has to be retribution, not revenge. But there has to be
There
payment for
needs to
what
be
they've done, Lord, because
justice.
they will do it again if they get back in power. They will do it again. And I'll tell you something
And
else
they're
they'll
already
do.
proving that. They're already proving that. They are so corrupt. And they're this globalist cabal of Soros UN owned puppets.
Do you
And
agree with the federal
it's
takeover of
not
D.C.
retribution,
tonight?
it's justice. And and the J6ers, those cases need to be looked into. They withheld Brady material in most, if not all of those cases. They didn't get a defense. They already tried to lock up the American people. I told my husband, if President Trump does not win the next election, be prepared for wifey to disappear for speaking my mind. We were all banned. We were all censored. They already took our First Amendment rights. They're trying to take our Second Amendment rights, which is the first thing a dictatorial, uh, sorry, my mouth.
Dictatorship. Yeah.
Yes, that's the first thing they're going to do is disarm the public over my dead body.
Yeah.
That's all I
No, I
got to
think
say.
that Trump, if this would have went the other way, we would have been having this conversation tonight.
We wouldn't be having
I'd
it.
have been
They
calling you
would
up
have
and saying, "Hey, you
destroyed
got
us.
any California hills out there for me to come hide in?" Because I'd have been looking for these hills too somewhere. I think all of us would have been. Well, listen, a couple of other quick things. Are you on board with him federalizing the National Guard to go into D.C.? I know there's a lot of people out there that are really screaming bloody murder tonight, but Lori, I don't see
Well,
anything else he could have done except what he's done.
okay, so first of all, it's constitutional.
It's very constitutional.
DC should have never been its own entity. That is our capital. It should be run by the federal government. And sorry, when the leadership of DC is painting BLM on the streets and letting statues be torn down, they are incompetent and they are incapable, and we need to take our capital back. I am
Yeah,
all for it.
I'm all for it too. Do you think it will make a difference in the crime?
Yeah, I do. But they do. Congress needs to go in and change the laws for, federally, because I don't think Bowser's going to do it. These 14, 15, 16-year-old kids need to stop getting a slap on the wrist. If they beat someone, if they shoot someone, if they kill someone, they need to do hard time. I don't care how old they are.
That's what Judge Janine said today. We're going to play that video tonight. But listen,
Well,
it's
and
all
understand these gangs, and it's the same thing with what we're facing here. Use these young kids to do the dirty work because they know the young kids aren't going to be held accountable.
yeah.
So there's leaders in these groups sending marching orders to these people. And I'm sorry if you can't do that. you need to go after the parent.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
If you can't control your kid, either you're gonna pay the fine. Kind of like that time. Remember, there was that kid that shot a bunch of people, and they held his parents responsible. Remember
I
that?
remember that. I do remember that. I
Same
can't think of
thing.
his name,
If
but
if these kids are gonna go out and break laws and hurt people and have mob violence, and we can't prosecute the kids, go after the parents.
I'm with you there. Listen, good stuff tonight as always, and I want you to come back. I hope we're not as long in between visits this time. The summer's ending, so we're getting back on normal schedule for the fall and getting into the winter. I want to give you a few minutes to wrap us up. Final thoughts about our nation tonight, and it's so good to see you. And I mean that. You're always welcome here, and we always enjoyed you being with us. And I hope we can come on your show sometime soon too. And whenever you get back to normal too. But we're praying for California tonight. I really am. I'm praying for your state. I know you mentioned the fires. It's probably not been reported as much as the first set, but there is some more canyon fires burning tonight in California.
Yeah, we don't have the Santa Ana winds right now though, so they're not as bad.
Not as bad.
But understand, they are not doing fire clearance still. So when we get the Santa Ana winds, all the arsonists come out and they start fires, and it is catastrophic. I was I live by where the Woolsey fire was, and the brush by my house is already 8 to 10 feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're
So
not in any trouble tonight, but it's close.
well, it could happen.
Yeah.
I'm not going to kid myself. And the same with like how the Palisades burnt down. The wind blew south. If Topanga goes up again, Malibu will be gone.
What is
Part of Malibu is gone,
what is
but
wrong with your state, Mills? What is wrong with your governor? Do they not
they
prepare
want
for this
they
stuff?
want a land grab so they can do high density housing to flip suburbia blue.
You believe these fires were set intentionally?
I think it's a lot like Maui.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair assessment. Okay.
Which still I believe they have not been rebuilding. And then they tried to pass a bill here where the state could buy these vacant lots for cheap, like by eminent domain already, almost, and then build high density, low income housing on prime real estate on the beach.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's well said, my friend. Hey, good to see you tonight, and I'm gonna
Okay, really quick, my last
go ahead.
words to your audience. Do not become California. Local politics has national impact. You need to show up at your city council meetings. You need to stay in touch with what is going on in your county. These Soros activists are nationwide. You cannot let them have the narrative. You need to blow apart the narrative that they're trying to push to run on, because that is how they play politics. And you have to stand in the way because the media is not going to do it for you.
No,
So
totally agree,
fight,
buddy.
fight.
Totally agree. Folks, I'm gonna say goodnight to you from here. Laura, stay with me just for a second. Listen, y'all been listening to a early bird special tonight with my dear friend Lori Mills. Undercovercali.com is her website. Go ahead, Lori. What?
Oh, follow me on X at Lori Mills, the number 4CA42. And also, I had done a documentary after the raid here because the traffic kids, I'm like, So I did a documentary going back 4 years with some of my interviews. It is, if you go on YouTube, Uncover California, you'll see a video, and the header for it says Indivisible.
Okay.
So please push that out. It's important that people see it. I'm telling you, what happens in California will come your way.
It's coming.
Protect communities.
I'm with you, and that's why we have you on, because y'all are always seems to be the top of the spear when things start coming east. And I would prefer to fix them out west and go west into the Pacific Ocean, some of this stuff, to be frank with you. But folks, listen, we're not done tonight. This is an early bird, and we want to be great. We've had a good audience for it to be an early bird tonight. We're going to be back on at 9 o'clock tonight Eastern. Our dear friend Bianca Gracia is coming to me from Washington, D.C. tonight. So our dear friend, she's been with us several times. Dear friend, she can be with us tonight. And you've been listening to a McFile Early Bird Special with my dear friend Lori Mills. We hope you've had a good time with this interview. If you have, put some fire in that house, and a lot of that fire is already going up. And I will see you back here at 9 o'clock tonight for our McFile Smack. And Lori, thank you so much for being with me today. We got a lot more to talk about again. Stay with me on the line, and I'll be right with you. Folks, we'll see you after a few hours, okay? Be back with us at 9 o'clock tonight. Until then, McDonald, out with our dear friend, Miss Lori Mills, uncovercali.com. Be blessed out there.